What really excites me is now we are at that phase where I see the true power of India as being the so-called Viksit Bharat. Million readers with 60,000 plus education institutes network. Probably it's India's largest education distribution network
Agreed.
that we have. That Eduvoice should be the only voice in education, along with the education world, that should be going across all stakeholders, which could be educators, parents, and students. Prepare the aura. It's like the X's you have to prepare before you enter the fort. So the X's, which could be either a student or a parent, start talking to them, maybe on the street, maybe in a mall, maybe at a home. Pankaj, to be honest, according to me, each and every school has to be outstanding, because Education World, being India's sole education news magazine, was a perfect match for me, that my curiosity I could have taken forward to each and every campus.
So, welcome to the episode of the Eduvoice. So, today we have a special guest, 4,000 plus education institutions he has visited across India. So, I would like to thank Mr. Bhavin for accepting my invitation. Mr. Bhavin is the CEO and director of Education World, India's magazine, which needs no introduction, and it gives the best. It gives the ranking to different education institutions, mainly schools of India. So Bhavin sir, thank you sir for accepting.
Thank you, Pankaj, for having me on this show. I hearty give you congratulations for this initiative, and I truly believe that EduVoice should be the only voice in education, along with the education world, that should be going across all stakeholders, which could be educators, parents, and students.
Thank you sir. With you, definitely it will go. So sir, first I would like to ask, what's the story of this 4,000 campus visits? Because nobody in India has ever done that 4,000 plus campus visits.
Pankaj, it is something like this. I have blood of FMCG. I've launched brands like Gillette Mark 3, Duracell, and Oral-B. I was into very unique positions, obviously not by design, but by way of opportunity. And unlike coming from a very humble background, middle class, while you finish your graduation, the only aim would be saying you get a good job.
True.
So wherever you get a job, you just go and plunge in. So I worked with United Nations for relief supplies.
Okay.
So whenever any man-made devastation or natural devastation used to happen, I used to do a lot of procurement. And along with that, I used to have things which would be coming from America to do their launches. And that's how
Okay.
Gillette, Duracell, Oral-B, which were predominantly the fast-moving consumer goods, I started stumbling upon to launch it in India. So obviously, all my experience which came in saying how to really build a distribution of any product, service, or a cause in India. Okay,
Okay.
and that's how what happened was, while the last project, and when you entered the office, you would have seen some toys, including some of the innovations that have done. So a German company told me, Bhavin, you have to launch this teaching learning aids. I used to tell him saying, hello sir, this is toys. Toys could be sold anywhere. So Germans told, no, it can't be, and you have to go to education institutes. So I told, largely education institutes, I don't think so, they do buy and sell. But they told me saying something they'll be using for teaching learning. So what I used to do was, I used to take this so-called toys, because we only knew toys, they used to call as teaching learning. I used to carry this good bulk of toys, and I used to start going into schools explaining what these toys are. At that time, I figured out saying, when I used to tell about the science behind any teaching learning, right from the color combination of blue, red, why activity based toys are important for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years rather than solo, it was good education for me. And while I was conveying this to the teachers or the principals, they used to just stare at me saying, we don't know anything that you're talking about. We just get some funds from the principal or from the management, and we used to go to the shop, we buy toys which are good in color, make the room very happy, and we just bring it. We don't know that there is a science behind procurement.
Okay.
That intrigued me to do this journey, go on continuously meeting a lot of education stakeholders, including managements, right across from kindergarten till university. I traveled and I asked various questions, which was, we being all the user of education, never would have questioned the authorities.
True.
With the opportunity that I got, I started being like a curious kid and started questioning about various frameworks that are there prevailing in education and what education institute used to be doing. So that brought me a marriage between education world and me, because education world, being India's sole education news magazine, was a perfect match for me. That my curiosity I could have taken forward to each and every campus, would have asked them all the information, and that's how you see that education world now, with more than million readers, with 60,000 plus education institutes network, probably it's India's largest education distribution network
Agreed.
that we have. Solely, I would have gone from northeast, west, south, including touching the Turtuk Valley School in Turtuk, or probably the Port Blair School, which is Mahatma Gandhi International School.
Great,
I've
sir.
personally been there and know them.
Great, sir. That's truly amazing.
Thank you.
I'm actually getting goosebumps, like how you have visited all those schools all across
It's been
India.
20 years on road. While you took my appointment today, tomorrow I'll be in Delhi. There's a lot of travel that is there, but what really excites me is now we are at that phase where I see the true power of India as being so-called Viksit Bharat will be lying in tier 2, tier 3, and the excitement and enthusiasm that I see in tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4 and 5 also. I'll be going to a place called Gonda next week, next month. I never, by the way, I have full India map with me, and I still learn places in India. And Gonda, I never knew where it would be. But one of the
Uttar
world's,
Pradesh.
yeah, Uttar Pradesh. And by the way, the promoter claims to be having one of the most advanced education technology in Gonda. And he has challenged me, you come here, you witness it. And he ensures me that I would have never ever seen such kind of technological expansion in education. So, Gonda, I'm coming soon.
Great, sir. Great. So, these 4,000 visits were before Education World, or it's
No, no, it
continuing?
was purely so the so-called Toys Project and Education World happened almost together.
Okay.
So I discontinued the so-called teaching learning in the toys market after a year and continued with Education World, and there is no
So,
looking back.
how was your experience like when we enter into a education institution? Like, who are the key decision makers? Like, is it there is a purchase department, or how does it works?
This is, by the way, this is a trade secret which I figured out, and I want to be I don't want to be now secretive about it. But Pankaj, is very interesting. A lot of people who come in the education sector, they spend decades and decades, and you have seen a lot of so-called companies giving services. They would have wanted to come in education, but they vanish in couple of years, because for them it's very difficult to really reach out to education institution and to figure out, saying, if suppose I'm a furniture provider, or if I'm a curriculum provider, or if I'm going to technology provider, who decides this? Is it the principal who decides technology product? Is it the furniture which are decided by a trustee, or is it a teacher who's going to decide, saying this books you want it? So for an outsider, it's very difficult, because you can't barge in into a classroom and say, hey teacher, I have a product and you have to buy it. And largely, you know that once the school time is over, you can't see anyone in the school. So now
True.
what to do, correct? So this is very interesting. While this whole journey was been built up, my experience has been, you have to really do your homework very well. You have to understand what this institution is about, maybe school, kindergarten, college, or university. Get to know about what are the things great that institution is doing, and not so great, something that you can put it on table. So if it is something that you come on with an idea saying here is a great teaching learning method, you first have to exhibit this to the stakeholder. Prepare the aura. It's like the X's you have to prepare before you enter the fort. So the X's, which could be either a student or a parent, start talking to them, maybe on the street, maybe in a mall, maybe at a home. And they will give, saying, okay, my student is going, or my ward or my kid is going to this school, which is a fabulous sports facility, for example. And this is where I used to enter in and get to know, saying, tell the school, saying, you have a great sporting facility, but I've got a feedback that probably you need I mean, technology is not here, people are happy. And that's how either teacher or a principal or a trustee would guide me, saying, hey, look, you're talking sense. Let me make you meet with X person, Y person in my institute
Who is the key
who,
decision maker?
who could influence this, and then we will come together to decide. So there are layers of so-called decision making, or nowadays we see, and I'm talking almost now my journey 2 decades back, but some of the professional institutes have made this institute, they have really incorporated a system which is like a corporate structure, but they're very few in number. Largely still, it's mom and pop business where someone from the family would be involved. Sometimes they are there on the campus,
And
sometimes they are
sometimes
not
they are
there.
running multiple other businesses, and
Businesses
then
also, correct. So it's a very personalized. There is no, so it's not like banking, or for that matter it is not like something as an FMCG business. This particular east, north, west and south would altogether function in different way. So
true.
according to me, it's only learning by doing, which is a very key word which I believe in education also. This you have to put it in practice in your
Practical
profession
learning.
also. And this is how I've learned, and that's the reason the rich knowledge and the network that education world would have built is becoming the most trusted one. And that's the reason school, parents, students, whomsoever are there, whichever news that we publish, whatever events that we do, or whichever platform we convey our messages, they have been highly so-called acknowledged by the stakeholders.
Great, sir. Great. So we have heard education world many times. So what's the story of this education world?
So let
What's
me
this platform all about?
So let me tell you, Pankaji, this is very important, and everyone, as your viewer, should know. And I think so. All of us in India should come united with one cause, which education world is standing for. So our co-founders Dilip Thakur and Sumya Yasmin really believed in a mission when we started Education World. And if I have to quote that, it was something to really live it up to the mission. This is what I do it day in day out, is to build the pressure of public opinion to make education as the number one item on national agenda. And I'm happy through Eduvoice, this particular mission that we are on, let me convey it to you. Though we had multiple bumps to achieve this mission, but I'm happy to state that we have really moved the entire of the focus for all the stakeholders to the number one priority. And now you would see that government is also speaking the same. The new national education policy speaks for the same. In fact, now there is a unity in the entire political will also, that education should be given priority. In fact, you see many of the governments only fighting to give best of the education. Though this time I don't want to name the party, but this time they lost a very critical election, because if someone who would not do justice in education, then probably people will immediately trace them.
People will not trust
and,
them.
and they'll not trust them. Yeah.
Great, sir. So how do you rate schools, and what are the key parameters which you focus on, and what are the key parameters actually, the question is related to what key parameters parents should focus on?
Okay, Pankaj, you're talking about now what Education World's flagship initiative that we took nearly 1.5 decades back, which was to start Education World India school rankings and ratings, correct? But by the way, let me tell you and to all your viewers that that's not the only thing that we do, though we are known for it. And that's how everyone adds on the trust factor to whatever Education World does. But this ranking and rating methodology came from a sheer parental plight whenever they wanted to choose an education institute. While I was researching during my so-called toys time, whenever I used to ask a particular principal of a school, saying, hey, look, how do parents find you? So they say, hey, look, from one apartment a parent comes in. For example, they are happy. They tell to 10 parents, or 10 parents says, okay, your kid is going here. I'll also join in, correct? And that's how the trend, or what we call it as the one follows the other, that used to be the trend. Now, largely after a while, when they would have taken admission in a school, what happens is people would figure out saying, hey, look, my kid is showing great enthusiasm in sports. But when I took admission, I thought that an institute would be best in everything. Okay.
Totally agreed.
And then they would go and ask the principal or the management saying, hey, look, why don't you are giving me a better or the best platform for my kid in sports? And school would say, hey, look, we are not known for sports,
We are known for education,
academics, and we'll give
academics.
that best, but sorry, I can't. So that made us think, saying we should give information of each school in such a way that for anyone, for that matter, whether it could be educator to find a good job, whether it could be a parent who's looking for a right fit for their kid, or for that matter, a high school student who feels saying, yes, this is something now I've understood that I need and I should start searching. So, our scientifically designed 14 parameters of education world, India school ranking, India preschool ranking, or India higher education ranking, it's very, very important that each and every parameter we rank and rate through subjective and objective methods. So,
Okay.
by way of people's vote. So, if I ask you saying, hey, look, this is the form, do you know education institutes which are written in it? And if you know them, how would you rate them into these 14 parameters? Okay. So, that's one of the perception that you would give your voting. At the same time, we do some subjectivity test, which includes student test, teachers test, where we conduct free of charge this test, which is voluntary. If any education institutes takes it, that particular marks which a student or a teacher gains in that test are added on. So that becomes a robust mechanism, that it's not only about the public opinion, though it matters a lot, but over and above, there are factual analysis which are added on. So this particular method is now been probably known as the world's largest field exercise, and probably this kind of 2 volumes that we bring in, which are probably more than 1,000 pages of India's gold rankings that we do it, is eventually something each and every of these stakeholder refer it day in day out whenever they want to make decision. And what we say is that this is not, and particularly I believe saying this is not the only tool. We want anyone who takes a decision, because this is the best gift that a parent can give it to the child. We want to see to that a parent takes an informed decision. See, I'm not a palmist who's going to say, okay, आपकी हाथ की रेखा दिखाइए, and I can tell you saying which school is the best, where your child is going to really flourish, and he'll be like, another greatest of the innovator, or the prime minister. But what I tell is that if a parent knows some of the characteristics of the education
Based on that, he can
institute,
decide.
they can take an informed call. So they are not completely aghasted saying, oh God, I wanted apple and I send my kid into an orange school, correct? So that really made, and we day in day out work, and that's the reason all my visits, including a professional agency. So Pankaj, it's not that I do or my team, or for that matter our editorial team does all this ranking rating. It's done by a third party, which is a very professional agency. These are all IIT graduates who have formed a research agency. This opinion poll is done by them, and then they give us the results, which we publish. And then what we do is we recognize the institute who have really been doing good work.
Great, sir.
Annually.
Great. It's actually, I was thinking, like in India nowadays, various agencies are coming. School ranking awards. So,
Everyone is following us, but let me warn each and every parent and educator, and let me, through your medium, let me tell to each and every education institute also, please, if suppose, for example, if anyone who loves to flaunt a Louis Vuitton, or for example, if you want a Mercedes, then you will have that logo and you will say that my car is of Mercedes. Okay. So that's where, when the ranking and ratings one would display, please ask a question: who has given you this ranking? It could be anyone from anywhere who would have given it and have made you number one or number 100. Please question them. And you have to write it very clearly that this has been ranked. So if it is something like Harvard Business Review ranks, or THE ranks, or Education World ranks it, that's a proud moment, because these are credible institution.
agreed.
There are so many so-called fraudulent, duplicate, plagiarized people who copy and do it, and they pretend. Let me tell you that really the credit of that particular institute, because unethical practice no sooner an education institute start developing, because everyone is flaunting that we are ranked somewhere or the other, and some of the institutes or many of the institutes feel saying we are nowhere, and they start doing these shortcuts and allow all this corruption by buying ranking and rating. Let me tell you, their credibility is
It's
not
not
going to
worth
be,
it.
yeah, it's not going to be considered by anyone.
True, true, sir. Now, sir, what trends you have observed in the education sector in the over the past decade? How things are moving in terms of admissions? Like earlier, you told that one student going and others people living in the apartment go.
They'll follow.
But nowadays, what are the
No, no,
trends?
it's a
How
sea
things are?
change, Pankajji. I think so. One of the biggest change that has happened, and I give a classic example that India is a story, it's a tipping point story. While you will relate, while Y2K was happening, computers and probably the capital market and others, or before the birth of this computer based capital market, everyone who was in the capital market, they never used to think that a computer is going to replace their job. But when it happened drastically.
Drastically.
Same way, if you remember, when the mobile phones came in and the service providers started charging 24, 30 rupees kind of a call rate, and I'm not talking this is 1947 or whatever, these are like 1.5, 2 decades back.
Yes.
You immediately saw more or less, it's almost free that you get the calls, the rate, it's drastically changed. So what I've seen is technology has completely revamped the entire preferences of a parent and a lot of policies. So I don't know whether you have witnessed this, but I have been caned several times in the school. Okay. So that I'll be in discipline, or if I've not done my homework. Obviously, now I can't talk also about this in a school. In fact, kid also knows their right that if you're going to touch me, you'll be behind bars. Correct. So a lot of preferences by way of all the stakeholders have, I may say that it has upgraded, maybe not a change, because scientifically, yes, it is right that nothing by way of torture or nothing by way of any kind of rigidness that any system would have had, may it be business, may it be education, may it be meditation also. If you're going to enforce anything, it's not going to work. So
True.
parents started believing in saying, if I want my kid to excel into, say, sports or dance or arts, then I should have that preference. And the trends which are changing is in the admission processes or in teaching learning also, it has become more accommodative. Education institutes have started understanding, or the shift of trend that has started is they have now started understanding that if there is an increasing demand of a certain way of behavior, it could be by way of an education institute telling a communication to a parent or to a student, or for that matter, any teaching learning process where probably one would have thought saying homework was the only way that you can learn, probably not in any of the practical scenarios. This has started changing in schools, colleges, universities have started adopting the experiential learning model. Now, various models have come in where the trends are shifting and they are giving a lot of options to parents and students
In
how they
one
can do it.
campus, there is Cambridge, there is CBSE, there are
So,
other
Pankaj, they
boards
have
also.
boards, and there
Yeah.
is it's, to be honest, we've been writing this from past 25 years. Everything is generalized, so one parent in a kitty party would talk about saying, हाँ मेरा बच्चा तो IG board में जाता है. Probably she or he may not know. Means, sorry, I'm not really trying to demean any of the knowledges, but if it is education, I thoroughly believe that parent educator both have to little bit invest into knowing that, because these are the foundation of any individual for a lifelong learning. Correct. So that's where some kind of an effort everyone has to take to know everything end to end. Okay.
True.
And this is where what happens is when someone would say this Cambridge board, IB board, CBSE board, what is good, what is not good. So this is typically what happens is various, so differentiation of a board versus the pedagogical aspect versus some kind of teaching learning practice. They are all three different so-called processes. Okay, so when I saying I may be a state board school, or for that matter I'll be a school which predominantly it could be only doing some kind of activity based learning. Okay, so it's very very important to understand that pedagogical, that means how they are using a pattern of education, that has to be differentiated from a board. Board is an assessing body. Eventually बोर्ड का काम है कि eventually
सारे प्रोसेसेस फॉलो हो रहे हैं नहीं
correct,
हो रहे हैं, असेसमेंट हो रहा है
correct,
नहीं हो रहा.
correct. So there is a differentiation between the boards, and many schools are now adopting giving multiple choices. Considering saying a kid who would be really preparing for competitive some kind of a platform, then probably they would have any kind of Indian curriculum, maybe largely CBSE that they would have gone in, because this is where the rigor of academics can be really offered to a child and a family who aspires for that. Someone who is really looking at a holistic way of all subject learning, and probably some of the concepts of curiosity based learning, and something which is largely to do with hands on projects and others, which practically would help the kid to excel in life, industry, or economy, then ideally they would choose an international board. So schools offer various multi so-called board mechanism, but that is completely different than how students really make or a school really conveys the teaching learning process. That's completely different.
True. And so, what makes a school truly outstanding in today's education landscape?
Pankaj, to be honest, according to me, each and every school has to be outstanding. See, हमारे बच्चे हैं, हमारा भविष्य है, ठीक है, हमारे देश का और हमारे ग्लोब का भविष्य है. I don't think so any parent for that matter would think is saying I want to send a kid to a substandard school.
ये थोड़ा हल्का स्कूल है यानी
मतलब parent, no parent, may it be on the remotest or the ruralist part of India or anywhere in the globe, that a parent would feel that okay, now gone are the days where slavery, bondages and others were happening, is saying you are only meant to stay here. In fact, education is one of the most unleashing potential power that any individual parent or a student can get. To me, for getting an outstanding school, I should tell each and every school operators that believe in your mission and vision, okay, and live it up to the mission the way education world has lived it up, and make your each and every stakeholder buy that mission on which you have developed the education institute. See, very importantly, people talk about saying, oh, I have swimming pool, I have 3 grounds, I have AC classrooms and others. But these are the tangibles which really do not impact a real character. You know, I mean, development of character is education eventually, correct? You may be the most learned, you may be by way of qualification, by way of degree, correct? But we have seen right from wars till by way of scams, the so-called degree holders would have done the max.
Yes.
So to me, in order to develop the best character, institutions can have the ability to create an outstanding student, or outstanding outcome is related with outstanding way of developing and implementing their mission. Okay, so if Mahatma Gandhi would have the vision to achieve freedom, but his mission was through non-violence, he lived it up to the mission. Okay, and that's how, without any multimedia communication or anything, you see the huge followership that he would have gathered. Similarly, there are various schools in the town that, so for example, India's #1 school is in Chittor, which is Rishi Valley. Now, Chittor, I doubt anyone would have also gone there, correct? But this is something that a school has developed its culture, and school has really made the entire mission living it up to the nation. And that's how Rishi Valley is known. across the nation. So there
Okay.
are various schools. This is just an example. I'm not trying to say that that's the only school. There are various schools across the nation who are doing excellent work at the same time. They are living it up to that mission, and that's how we have outstanding institutes. Or probably this is the path to
Hmm.
develop an outstanding institute.
Great, sir. Your each and every word is a value bomb for me. I'm learning a lot from you.
No, no, we are
So
learning each other. So that we are in a peer-to-peer learning business.
thank you, sir. And sir, what do you think? Like AI is rapidly coming, and it has already everyone is now using it. Gen AI, everyone is using. So what do you think? Like it, how do you see it reshaping the school system?
Pankajji, it's very important. While this so-called bug of AI has hit everyone, in
Hmm.
fact, the child who's in the womb, or no sooner the child is born with the gadget like this,
Hmm.
probably on the blink of eye also, now the tech knows saying, okay, the child is hungry and needs something, or probably child does not want to use some kind of a feature and another option is given. So by the way, AI is not something new in any of the era that a human or mankind has so-called encountered. If you have seen right from the journey of from a scroll to book to an invention, or for that matter computers, or for that matter may it be the electricity, going back to the coal, or now what you're calling it as the wind energy and the recycle energy. These are all the evolving aspect that human mankind would have continuously evolved with, and everyone has adapted it, everyone has changed with the time, and each and every of the economical aspect may be impacting humans, impacting industry, impacting any kind of, or impacting nature also. Technology has been a integral part. So education probably by way of tech and the implementation, in less than a decade it has really become a buzzword, and it's enabling the teaching learning process. But let me tell you that to the diversity that India has, and with the multiple formats of boards which are there, region to region where the schools, colleges, and university differ, AI can be a great tool for an educator.
Hmm.
I may have a lot of cautions embedded in it, because as my journey back from the toys, where what is the relevance of a blue color, green color to a particular age group, and to a particular age group in the senior, all the implications are different. So similarly, AI, when we talk about, we can't generalize it. If you want to use it for young ones, it could be first educator who can enable it for the
Hmm.
teaching learning process, not that you directly have to give a gadget to the child. I hope you know now various countries have started rejecting technology, and they are bringing books back in the classroom,
Hmm.
because there are a lot of other side effects that they would have seen by way of social emotional balance, the kind of emotions that they share, because now for them anything and everything is a gadget.
Hmm.
There is no human, right?
True.
So a lot of disturbances kids are going through, and anxiety issues, because these are not the issues that you and me would have talked in our childhood, that this stress, anxiety, and others,
Depression.
depression and others, these words were not there, because we were playing in nature, we were having a great social environment, we're going to relatives, always towards a weekend we used to socialize, probably bringing whole city together, whole of our colony together, sort of like that, which is not happening now.
Hmm.
So a caution is needed. One has to draw a line that how much is too much, and each and every stakeholder has to work out their own method. So it's like, it's like I call it as a balanced diet.
Hmm.
India meals, India culture is so diverse that you can adopt it to your need. So, for example, if at all you know that you need protein, you are having some dal and the protein kind of a food. Not necessary that you have to go and add technology in it, by which one would say, oh, now the AI is telling, oh, no, no, I need to have some protein supplement because AI has told it. You have to believe your culture, you have to believe your region, you have to believe your environment, what is best. And if you draw a line that this is good for my, say, for example, kid or a school which is serving to a senior grade, I give them this tool so that they can use it rather than like be afraid of it. And for young ones, we shouldn't be exposing them too much on the technological aspect, but let teacher use it so that they can really improve the teaching learning exercise.
Great. Teachers can definitely use and explore, as they can increase their knowledge, like current knowledge they have a specific to a specific level, but they can use and they
Yeah,
can
it's a
increase.
great tool for professional development, training, and others. So AI is multifold, Pangaji. It is something that I think so we all have to discover. Every day there is new and new things that are coming in. If you know your goal very clearly, and that's very important, right? So for a teacher or for a student or for an administrator, they know that what they want to achieve out of it, and they create a border saying this is the limit that I'll allow, and beyond this which I'll not allow. So basically creating a policy framework, may it be a family which creates a policy at home, or may it be policy which an education institute will create. If your objective is very clear, how much you want to use it and how much you want to give exposure, then I think so AI is a great tool. It is always going to be there. In fact, it's going to go multifold ahead. You have to be caution only when to use it and how much to use it.